everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is Jon Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video headquarters here in Burbank, California. And I'm really sleepy because I was up all night throwing out most of my old Hulk Hogan memorabilia.
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
Well, I'm not sleepy at all. I was up watching Hannibal. So I'm creating brand new nightmares for myself. Awesome show. You should watch it.
Also here is Kristian Harloff.
I was just up practicing my Macho Man impression. Ooh, yeah, talking about Collider Movie Talk. Ooh, yeah, brother.
Last night in Hollywood, our own Jon and Kristian had the opportunity to go to the Paramount Studios lot to watch a screening of the new Tom Cruise film Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. With the IMF now disbanded and Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, out in the cold, a new threat called the Syndicate soon emerges. The Syndicate is a network of highly skilled operatives who are dedicated to establishing a new world order via an escalating series of terrorist attacks. Faced with what may be the most impossible mission yet, Ethan gathers his team and joins forces with Ilsa Faust, Rebecca Ferguson, a disavowed British agent who may or may not be a member of this deadly rogue nation. So guys, give us your review of the film.
You know, I have been so confused as to what to think about as far as my anticipation of this movie goes, because first of all, the last Mission Impossible was great, so that's a good thing. They moved it from Christmas time up like 4.5 months into the summertime. That's a good sign. But at the same time, there's been, I think, a little bit, it's catching people by surprise that it's opening up this week. Like even I was like, oh, that's right, it's opening this week. They haven't done a really great job really drilling it into the audience that this thing is now opening this week. And so maybe that, signifies a little bit of, oh, maybe we don't have something good here. It's spectacular. I loved this movie. I didn't right from the opening scene, which is fantastic and it's breathtaking and it sets the tone for the whole movie right off the bat. Tom Cruise has not lost a step. He has absolutely not lost a step. There's some fantastic physical action in this movie. It's just heart pounding, like really. And some of the best vehicle chases, and there's several vehicle chase scenes in this movie, all choreographed wonderfully. Some of the stunts are spectacular. It's funny when it needed to be funny. Simon Pegg is really comfortable and at home in this franchise now. You can totally see it. Seeing the other guys, Jeremy Renner, his role's kind of played from what it was in 4, but he's totally fits that role. Ving Rhames is back having a more predominant role than he's had probably since part 1. And that was really nice to see. It's got a strong villain. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. Strong villain. And it was just, it's not often when you watch, because we saw it last night at Paramount with about 200 other, film journalists and stuff like that. And we're a jaded bunch. It's not often when you walk out of those types of screenings and you can just feel the buzz in the air from everybody there. Because like I said, the film journalists are a jaded bunch. And everybody came walking out of the theater and it was electric. Everybody's really excited about it. I really enjoyed this film. Kristian, you and I didn't even connect after the movie. So your thoughts on Mission Impossible Rogue
I got
Nation?
2 words for you. Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
Where did she come from? This girl that's in this movie.
I think she came from The Rock's Hercules.
Yeah. But other than that, who is she? And you talk about a new woman who can kick ass. Start rumoring this girl for a lot of different stuff because she's going to be everywhere. She is great in this movie. But you're absolutely right. Not only did Tom Cruise not lose a step, he gained a step. I mean, you watch. I love this movie, and I loved the last one, Ghost Protocol. Yeah, loved it. Thought Brad Bird did an amazing job. I like this movie more, and I'll tell you why. Because what does everyone talk about in Ghost Protocol? Dubai, because that scene is just electric, and you're watching it. But the problem with that scene is once that scene is done, the ending, as fine as it is, it's fairly forgettable because that scene happens almost in the middle of the movie. This movie, I think, learned from that. And there's a big piece right in the beginning that you go, oh, wow, that's crazy. But then it's the story that locks you in. You're so locked into what Mission Impossible is all about, and that's the team element. And it's not only Ethan running around doing all these things, he's got to be partnered up. And they gave Simon Pegg a lot more to do. The humor worked, his character worked. He wasn't just in there for just comedic relief. He was in there to serve a purpose to the story. And then because of that villain and the way that the movie ties up, it just works as a whole, my only gripe with the film is it's about 10 minutes too long. Maybe 10, 15 minutes too long. It's the longest Mission Impossible so far, but I was still okay with it. I was never bored. Overall, my biggest concern going into the film was Chris McQuarrie, not as a writer. I mean, Usual Suspects. I mean, come on. And I think he was one of the writers on what Live, Die, Repeat, whatever the movie was.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was one of the writers on that too. He's a phenomenal writer. I didn't like Jack Reacher. I know some people enjoyed it. I really disliked the film, so I was nervous going into this and squashed. This guy should be doing a lot more now. I want to see him do something without Tom Cruise now, but Tom Cruise is a bona fide action star. There's a reason this guy has been on top for so long. Everyone involved in this film, and Alec Baldwin was great.
See, I was going to say, my biggest concern, I wasn't worried about Christopher McQuarrie because I'm one of those people who I did like Jack Reacher, but also as a writer, because he was also the main writer on this film. He did another Tom Cruise movie, which I think is one of the more underrated Tom Cruise movies, Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And Christopher McQuarrie was the writer on that as well. Him and Tom Cruise work really well together.
Directing though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I since I like Jack Reacher, I was on board. But you're right. Christopher McQuarrie did a masterful job. One of the great things about this movie is, you hear us talk a lot about this, and I'll talk about it a little bit more when we start talking about Southpaw as a polar opposite. The pacing of this movie is great. And I'm not talking whether it's a fast movie or a slow movie. I'm saying it finds its pace. It knows this plot point, how many beats does this plot point need? This scene, how many beats he finds his rhythm, and that whole movie just flowed. My biggest concern was Alec Baldwin, because when I saw the trailer, I thought Alec Baldwin is going to be the stereotype, just big blowhard, blah, blah, blah. I'm the man, so therefore I'm a pain in the ass, sort of thing. But I really enjoyed him in the movie, and there was a nice resolution to his character at the end too. I am thrilled with this movie. We were discussing, it might be my favorite movie this summer. I'm not sure yet between it and Ant-Man. It's close. I know for me, out of 10, I'm going to give it the same score that I ended up giving Ant-Man. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I just had such a fun time with this movie.
I'm also going to give it the same score I gave Ant-Man. That's a 9 out of 10. But I actually think I enjoyed it overall more as a summer blockbuster movie. This is, when you think of blockbuster action films, this is what you want out of a movie. It's a movie that does have those big action pieces, but it doesn't just require you, shut your brain off, and and it's an okay movie, but you'll have fun because there's big special effects. No, it had a great story, it had great characters, the music was great, it had nods to the old television show. Everything you wanted this movie to be, it was. And that for me is a summer movie that I'm going to take away and go, yeah, I enjoyed it. Mad Max is up there too, but I would say right now I'd probably put Mission Impossible right there, Mad Max second, and then Ant-Man third.
And we invited you to come with us, but you unfortunately had already plans and couldn't go. But you've been looking forward to this.
I can't wait. I'm so happy that you guys loved it. So I'm going to see it Thursday. So I'm really excited to see it.
And so speaking of which, that was our review of it, but watch for our full spoiler review that will be up on sometime Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So watch for our spoiler review for Mission Impossible. All right, Ashley, what's next?
Once the latest trailer for the highly anticipated Batman vs. Superman debuted, many fans have been wondering who the young Asian woman was that was escorting the body of General Zod. The initial word from the studio was that she was a new character. However, it has now been revealed that the character is none other than Mercy Graves. Those who are familiar with the DC animated works will recognize that she is traditionally Lex Luthor's bodyguard and personal assistant. Schnepp, do you think having the Graves character will be good for the film?
I love the idea. I remember hearing rumor that she was going to be playing Mercy Graves, and they kind of were like, "No, it's a new character," and then, "No, it's actually Mercy Graves." And anybody who watched the animated series loves that character. I think she fits perfectly as Lex Luthor's bodyguard, as his limo driver, as his all-around, second in command. I mean, I think the casting of what's her name again? The actress.
I cannot remember the actress's name.
Tayo Okamoto?
Something along those lines.
She was in Wolverine, and she did a great job.
Yeah, she plays Kuriko? No, I can't remember the name of the
Mayamu?
Mariko.
Thank you.
I had the K wrong. Yeah.
Guys, we had Mariko. We knew that.
Mariko.
Yeah, Mariko. Anyway, so yeah, she played Wolverine's love interest, and she's a great actress. So I can't wait to see her play Mercy Graves. I want to see her do some crazy action scene. I hope that's in the movie.
See, I love it because we are now moving into an era finally where, traditionally speaking, you have the big bad guy, and sometimes they'll have their big henchmen, and the henchmen are always traditionally these big, menacing, villainous, blah, blah, blah. But then we saw Kingsman. And we saw Samuel L. Jackson's henchman was this beautiful, sleek, and deadly, intelligent woman was that role.
Tiffany Smith.
Who basically was Tiffany Smith's complete doppelganger. But now having this and having Graves as the thing, I want to see her play that role. I want to see her be hyper intelligent, like she's the smartest girl on the block, which in that picture we saw from the trailer, she looks like she's the smartest girl on the block, but also be totally lethal and totally deadly. And if they do that and they do that right, I'm super excited for it because I like seeing these types of characters on these screens. And what do you think?
Yeah, I love it because the reason now when you have these shared universes is that you're essentially casting a television show. So this is a character that even if she doesn't have a huge part in this particular movie, you're setting her up to be someone who's going to help out Lex Luthor in future movies. In future, so we know Lex is not going to just pop up in one movie and then that's the end of him. And so to have someone who is smart, that will help him, that can be deadly, and isn't, like you say, John, just the big kind of like dopey dude, like I'm going to crush your face. Oh, Batman beat me again. It's someone who's actually going to cause some problems, be smart, and be small, deadly, intelligent. Yeah. So and you're right, Schnepp. I loved her in Wolverine, so I'm on board.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
According to a story in The Hollywood Reporter, actor Tom Cruise is in talks to star in the long-in-development film Bob the Musical. The story of Bob the Musical follows a regular guy who, after a blow to the head, suddenly can hear the inner songs of everyone's heart as his reality is instantly turned into a musical, much to his dismay. The film is being directed by Academy Award-winning director Michel Assavenicius, who helmed the Oscar-winning 2011 film The Artist, with musical numbers being written by Brett McKenzie, who won an Oscar for his song Man or Muppet in the movie The Muppets. Schnepp, buy or sell the sounds of Bob the Musical?
I buy that artwork. Did Ray, did you make that artwork? Yeah. I absolutely love that artwork. I like the logo. I hope that whatever studio is doing this buys this from Ray Aura. Give him at least $100.
That was the actual image from the movie.
Yeah, give him at least $100 because that is amazing. I want Tom Cruise to have that music in his head. I love the idea. It sounds really original. It sounds refreshing, new. It's exactly what I think moviegoers need is something new and not another sequel, a brand new idea. And to see Tom Cruise reacting, everybody busting out into a musical, I cannot wait. I love it.
I wholeheartedly buy everything about this story is awesome. Tom Cruise in a role like this is great. It reminds me, it's a totally different character, but the kind of the juxtaposition of who we normally see Tom Cruise as for something totally different reminds me a little bit of Lex Grossman from Tropic Thunder. And I am still waiting for my Les Grossman movie. I want that movie really bad. But now you're getting the Academy Award winning director from The Artist. You're getting Academy Award song composer, the guy who did the songs from The Muppets. And I didn't even think Man or Muppet was the best song in that thing. I thought that one Kermit the Frog song, Only Pictures in My Head, I thought that song was like moving and good. I mean, this is going to be great. And it reminds me a lot, I haven't seen a movie like this probably in like 15 years. Remember that Mel Gibson movie, What Women Want, right? Where suddenly he could hear the thoughts of women. This kind of reminds me a lot. And What Women Want is a pretty damn good and entertaining movie. I think this has a lot of potential. Look, this also has huge potential to be cheesy and just out there and not work. But I think the potential is there for this to be something really special. I'm excited about this movie. So for me, it is a buy.
Yeah, it's a big buy for me. Because of we say this a million times. Every time we talk on the show about potential projects, it's all about the team. Yeah. Tom Cruise, obviously, even if you saw the Jimmy Fallon thing last night where he was going, it was a lip sync contest with him and Jimmy Fallon. Right. And he just embraces it. And even that silly musical that he was in, what was it? The Rock of Ages. Right. He was great in the movie. I didn't care for the movie at all, but the guy commits 110%. I've never once seen a Tom Cruise movie and go, he was phoning it in. There are many, like I've said that about Robert De Niro. Right, but I've never said that about Tom Cruise, and I don't think he would do that for this particular movie for what it is. You have the director of The Artist. You know it's going to look cool. And then Brett McKenzie, not only from Muppets, let's not forget what he's done with Flight of the Conchords. Yeah. And the music in that was, I mean, regardless of what you thought of the second season, the music was still, I still listen to it when I'm walking down the street. I have Flight of the Conchords because it's so funny, but it's great music. And to have him design an entire movie with Tom Cruise hearing that, and then What Women Want is immediately what I thought of, because you have that Tom Cruise turning life into a musical. I've thought about it sometimes as far as like what people's soundtracks would be in life when you're walking down, just a grumpy guy, it's like all these things, and you get the super happy guys. It's an annoying song. There's a potential that it could be. It's almost like Inside Out, also.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great stuff to come out of this movie, and I hope it comes soon.
All right, what's next?
New artwork for the upcoming film Kung Fu Panda 3 has just been released. That gives us a look at the panda village that we got our first glimpse of at the end of Kung Fu Panda 2. Continuing on his now legendary adventures of awesomeness, Po must face two hugely epic but very different threats, one supernatural and the other a little closer to home. The film stars the voice talents of Jack Black, Gary Oldman, Dustin Hoffman, David Cross, Angelina Jolie, Michelle Yeoh, Mads Mikkelsen, Danny McBride, Lucy Liu, Seth Rogen, Jackie Chan, James Hung, and Bryan Cranston.
Professor and Marianne.
Kung Fu Panda 3 opens in theaters on January 29, 2016. Kristian, buy or sell the look of these Kung Fu Panda 3 shots?
I'm buying the look of it. I mean, it definitely it reminds me of the other two movies. It's got the same tone. It's visually going to look great, and I'll believe everything about it. I'm still very skeptical that it comes out in January, but we're not buying the movie. We're buying the images, and I think it looks. I get concerned when the animation changes and the look changes and they try to go in a different direction. This seems to be the same exact type of feel that we were used to. And if you're fans of 1 and 2, it seems the same. So the images as they are, I'm buying it, but it's,
Yeah, they're just simple landscape images, but they excite me. So for me, it's a buy. You're right, because it does instantly bring me back to that world of Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda is one of these franchises that, when it started, completely surprised me. It looked like another non-Pixar just trope that was being thrown out there. But the Panda movies, and I like number 2 even more than I like number 1, I think are some of the best non-Pixar animated films we've had in the last 10, 15 years. I just think they've been spectacular. And Kung Fu Panda 2, and it's important to remember that the woman who directed Kung Fu Panda 2 is also directing Kung Fu Panda 3. I thought, this is weird to say about an animated film, the fight choreography in Kung Fu Panda 2 was spectacular, and the cinematography of it, how they showed them on screen, the images on screen were just exciting. I don't get excited much. How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, a couple of animated films that actually made me feel excitement at the action. And to see that also, it reminds me a bit of the World of Warcraft, Miss Pandera, or when that whole thing came out. So I'm a little bit biased towards that too. But I like what I'm seeing. It's making me feel what I should be feeling about this movie right now. For me, it's a buy.
I'm going to sell it mainly because it just reminds me of Myst, that video game. It just looks, I feel like I'm looking at a bunch of stills from hyper cards from the 80s. It really, to me, as coming from being an animation director for years, it's nothing new. So I can't buy those images. They just looked like a postcard from somewhere. There's nothing exciting about those backgrounds to me.
All right, what's next?
As many of you know, a Gambit movie is currently in development, which will star Channing Tatum as everyone's favorite card-throwing Cajun. It's now being reported that an official Louisiana government site has revealed that the film is set to start shooting in October of this year and will last roughly 4 months. The report also claims that the budget of the new film will be $150 million. John, buyers sell this news coming from the upcoming Gambit movie.
Okay, first of all, I also got to ask, Ray, did you make that Gambit face too? Okay. Well, I was about to say, wow, that's incredibly. Okay, look, I am buying the October shoot date. They got to get this thing moving. It's time to get going. 4-month production schedule sounds about right. Why does this movie need $150 million? Look, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent because we're supposed to be talking, but this is mind-blowing. This is stupid. You know, a lot of us film fans, we're often asking, why are movie tickets now today $10 or $9.50 or $11 when they used to be $4 and $5? You want to know why? Because these freaking studios don't know how to spend money. They're spending, every movie now seems you got to start at $100 million and you go up. Look, they're making Deadpool for what, 30 or 40?
Yeah.
Why does a Gambit need to be $150 million? You want to know why ticket prices going up? It's because these studios keeps throwing more and more and more money that they don't need to. Look at District 9. Look at Deadpool. Look at the first couple of Hellboy films. You don't need to spend north of $90 million to make a visually beautiful, action-packed, enjoyable, fun film. Why? Why does this is Channing, who's also happens to be a producer on this? For all I know, he has nothing to do with this. But what is he demanding? Like a $30 million payday? Not worth it. So I sell the budget. I can't wait for the movie. But why does a Gambit movie have to be $150 million? Anyway, I sell.
I buy it. I buy both. And I'll tell you why. The first, as far as the shoot date, October. Let's get it, because it looks like it's going to be like about a year. You figure October, November release date of next year. Is that when it's supposed to come out?
I think it's 2016.
Yeah. Makes sense. Now, initially, when I read, why in God's name is this movie $150 million? It doesn't make any sense. And I had your thoughts, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is a movie that, and I understand the Deadpool analogy here because it's $30-40 million, but it's a rated R film. It was they never really had plans for it. The fans pushed for it to happen, so the studio was like, let's see it's going to do really well, but there wasn't a big push for it. This is a movie that the studio had a push for. They want to include it in the X-Men universe. Channing Tatum is a big star, so that's already $15-20 million, whatever, maybe 10 or 15, whatever he might cost. Tying it into the X-Men universe, if this is going to be a big movie, I agree with you. If it's a smaller scale movie and they're just dumping money into it, then it doesn't make sense. But if this is ultimately going to fit into the apocalypse world and is going to fit into what ultimately the X-Men movies are going to be, and they're going to throw in some other characters in there that we don't know yet, and maybe whoever's going to show up, and they're going to spend this money to get Magneto in there and whoever it is, to build things that we don't know about the franchise yet, to really say this is going to be our next big budget franchise, then I understand it. But I'm with you. If it turns out to be a smaller movie that you watch it afterwards and go, I don't know if they needed to spend that money for that. Why did they do that? It depends on how big the scale of the movie is. I don't know enough about the scale yet.
Right. I agree. I mean, I'm going to sell it. I mean, are we still in the buy and sell phase here? That's what I thought. All right, I'm selling it. 150 million to me is not a Gambit movie. That's an X-Men movie. Yeah. And so, yeah, you're right. I have no idea what the story is. Maybe Mojo's going to be in it. Maybe they're going really big. I heard, Mr. Sinister. Who knows what they're going to do with Gambit, and maybe they're going to bring the X-Men into the Gambit movie and make these really big set pieces. That's all I can imagine now that they said 150 million. That's really all I'm looking forward to. Like, wow, I'm looking to see a really giant, big action film, which is weird to hear with Gambit, but I guess it could be Gambit and the X-Men. Just like Wolverine and the X-Men. I think they might go with that route. Also, there's a lot of above-the-line costs. Not only is Channing an actor, he's also a producer. Then you have all the other carryover people who've been producing all the X-Men films. So that's easily 60 million right there. Right. Just above the line. Could be 70 million above the line. So, 150 million, maybe the film's actually going to cost 70 million. So,
but here's a question we got, though. At a $150 million budget, figuring 1/3 ticket price, probably going to have a $50 million marketing push on this. So you're talking about 200. You're now looking at, you need to break even. You need 300 million. You need 300 million just to break even on this movie.
Internationally, it will do pretty well.
It'll probably do, but is Gambit, outside of the hardcore comic book fans, is Gambit a character that can carry a $300 million film? I suspect yes, but really, I mean, this is not going to be a $700 million film.
No, but I think that's the reason why the questions where people were initially going, why Channing Tatum? Well, there's your first answer. If they always knew they were going this big, you get a big movie star in there to try to cover some of those costs for sure. Regardless of what his salary is, the guy's been selling tickets right now. So it makes sense to do that. Now, that's also why I brought up scale of what the movie's going to be, because I agree. If it's not, if they feel that Gambit's going to be this big, huge movie that this is the next franchise, then yeah, you line up those costs and going, okay, let's make this thing big so we can make Gambit into the next Iron Man, because Iron Man, again, they didn't know what to do with that. And if someone would, I wonder what the budget was in the first Iron Man. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think they should just call this movie Gamble.
It is Gambit,
because that's what it's going to.
You're right. It definitely is. But they've been trying to get this movie. Like Laura Shula Donner has been trying to get this done forever. She wants to do a Gambit movie with Tatum. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, very curious. It wouldn't have been 150 with Taylor Kitsch. I'll tell you that. No. About $15.
All right, folks. The new week brings us new movies, and we are now going into our new segment that we, of course, call Opening This Week. 2 major films opening this week. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, we'll touch on that on Thursday, and another one opening tomorrow, actually, instead of on Friday, the new comedy Vacation. This is Opening This Week, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. So, Ashley, tell us a little bit about it.
One of the two major films hitting AMC theaters this week is the new incarnation of Vacation. Remembering fond childhood memories of his trip to Wally World, Rusty Griswold, played by Ed Helms, surprises his wife, played by Christina Applegate, and two sons with a cross-country excursion to America's favorite fun park. Following in his father's footsteps, Rusty and the gang pack up the car and hit the road for some much-needed family bonding. Soon, the promise of fun turns into one misadventure after the other for the next generation of Griswolds and anyone who encounters them. Kristian, should audiences be looking forward to Vacation?
No.
You saw Vacation.
Yeah. And if you watch about a month, 2 months ago, I was very excited for this movie. I loved the trailers that we saw, and those where the jokes stay in the trailer. They stay in that trailer. I guess we're not doing a big review here, but I'll tell you what. You should be excited for this movie if you are a Farrelly Brothers fan of the movies they've made in the last 5 years. You should be excited for this movie if you like poop jokes. You should not be excited for this movie if you were hoping to see a Harold Ramis homage to what was so great about Vacation. I was super excited to see this film. I was waiting, and it opens up with Holiday Road, and I'm like, I'm in. And then it starts, I'm out. I hope. Look, comedy is very subjective, as all the genres. I think that comedy is the most subjective. So there are people out there who may really love this movie. Didn't love it. I wouldn't send you to see it. I would send you to see Mission Impossible right away over this. Even if you want to see a comedy, I think the comedy by Simon Pegg dwarfs anything that is in this movie. But that's just me.
Schnepp, where's your anticipation level for this?
It was incredibly high up until 48 seconds ago, until Kristian bummed me out. Well, let me ask you this. You saw the movie. Yeah. I'm still going to see it. I've bought in on all the trailers. Those two guys are writing Spider-Man. So, we're like, hey, come on. Vegas Vacation meets New Vacation. What did you like better?
I would tell you the Vegas Vacation is absolutely my least favorite.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Ooh.
Someone asked me today to rank it, and I said, well, I know what I'll rank. I said, I'm going to talk about it today in Movie Talk, but I can tell you I know what I'll rank the fifth one.
Wow.
It's not even the same, because even Vegas Vacation felt like the characters, it felt like Vacation. Ed Helms, to your concern, what your concern was about Ed Helms, it hit it. And I didn't have that concern with him. And it's playing off what Ed Helms does, but that's not Rusty. It's never been Rusty, like for who Rusty was, and I don't care. Even they say in the trailer, this is going to stand alone on its own as a different Vacation, but it doesn't, because it's not, because you're still telling me you're Rusty from those other movies, but it didn't feel like Rusty. It felt like Ed Helms playing one of the characters that he plays. It felt more like the character from The Hangover.
Yeah, see, I have been, like, when they first announced this movie and Ed Helms was leading it, you were alluding to this, I had major concerns, because I do not think Ed Helms can lead a film. I just don't. I was kind of over him after the first Hangover. I did not like him in The Office. And I just thought this was a bad move. And then that Red Band trailer came out. And it totally changed my mind.
All three of us were all on the same show.
Yeah, I was like shocked how funny I thought, especially Chris Hemsworth in that trailer.
He's really good in the movie, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah.
So I'm still looking forward to seeing this movie. My anticipation level and my expectations have just taken a hit. Thanks to
Kristian the Cobbler Harloff.
I know.
It's cobbled away at my hopes and dreams.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys go and see the movie and go, dude, I thought it was really funny. Because that's the thing. That
Pixels
more
versus Vacation. What's better?
Oh, it's a hard one. Look, I will tell you that I enjoyed watching Pixels more, because with Pixels, I still got that premise was still cool, of like what could be Ghostbusters meets Independence Day.
Right.
And I was listening to the show yesterday where Mark's right. Mark was talking about how the special effects scenes and those action scenes with Pac-Man runs through, that's fun to watch. Now, which humor is better? I don't know. I think I probably laughed at some of the jokes in Vacation. There were a few laughs here and there, but that's a tough one. They don't do that stuff to me.
But it highlights it. That is the great thing about films. Like, just because Kristian liked it or didn't like it doesn't mean you're going to like it or not like it. We hope we give you a little bit of insight, and let us know what you think. If you check out Vacation this week, make sure you drop us a line and let us know what you thought about the movie. Speaking about dropping us a line, we've come to that part of the show now for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address in the show, just email it on in to collidervideo gmail.com. Send in your questions. We take a couple every day. So, Ashley, what do we got in the mailbag?
Savannah Walsh writes, "Hey Collider crew, this past weekend I saw the movie Southpaw and loved it. A particular standout performance for me was of Gyllenhaal's daughter in the movie, played by Una Lawrence. In my opinion, it was not just a great child performance, but a beautiful one in its own right. What are some of your favorite performances by child actors?"
Yeah, she was actually quite strong in Southpaw. She was very, very good. Some ones that really stand out to me, Henry Thomas in E.T. I mean, that's a classic one. I mean, it was, a lot of people think about that, the alien, but really, if you watch that movie, if that Elliot isn't as good as Elliot is, that movie doesn't work. Terrific performance there. One of might be my favorite of all time, Freddie Highmore in Finding Neverland.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
That is not the highest profile movie. Now, he worked with Johnny Depp also in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake. And he has great chemistry with Johnny Depp. Freddie Highmore, though, in Finding Neverland was a moving, powerful performance, child actor or not. I loved it. You got to talk about Chloe Grace Moretz. Sorry, she just goes by Chloe Moretz now. From Kick-Ass when she was Hit Girl, absolutely. And Haley Joel Osment as in Sixth Sense. So those are some of the ones that really stand out to me. Schnepp, what about you?
I was going to say, you mentioned E.T. It reminded me of Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore in
That was
E.T.,
a great role. Tatum O'Neal from Paper Moon, where she performed with her dad. Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver.
That's a
fantastic
huge one. Yeah.
And one of my big ones that I was like, oh my God, I almost missed this one. Leonardo DiCaprio in
What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Gilbert Grape.
Darn you, Schnepp.
Sorry. Did you have both of those?
I had
as
both
well?
those, yeah.
Those are both really great. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time. I hadn't seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape until 2 years ago. And his performance blew me away. I was in tears at the end. I couldn't believe what a great, that kid turned into a great actor, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you have those too, and I'll come up with a few other on my own. Here's Anna Paquin from The Piano.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great one. Haley Joel Osment, obviously in Sixth Sense. Let's see. I have Elijah Wood in pretty much everything he was in when he was a kid. He was, and even in The Good Son, a movie that was okay. He just had that emotional, and then Back to the Future. He's in it for 2 seconds. Back to the Future 2, I think he pops in. For 2 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, he pops in for like 2 seconds where you knew the kid had that kind of likability. But Christian Bale in Empire
of the Sun.
All right.
I mean, there were so many people that just it's hard for those kids, because look at someone like Corey Feldman, by the way.
Right.
Corey Feldman was a really good kid actor, but then just had his problems and fell off the
Jake
map.
Lloyd. There's a whole list
yeah,
of kid actors who end up, you know.
Yeah, and it's just who just don't hit that stride. But it takes a special kind of actor that has that special performance, and it turns into the Jodie Fosters of the world, Christian Bale, Leonardo DiCaprio. So,
You know, another one that a lot of people don't mention that I didn't mention, I'm thinking about it now, was Abigail Breslin in Little Miss Sunshine was really, really good. And, you know, that was, there was a lot of great performance. Actually, what's his name? Won Best Supporting Actor that year.
Alan Arkin?
Arkin won Best Supporting Actor that year for that movie. Steve
still have
Carell.
Nazi bullets in me.
Steve
Alan
Carell
Arkin's
was great
amazing,
in that
yeah.
movie. Yeah, that was a great one too. All right, what's next?
Stephen Lewis writes, "I recently saw Southpaw and was floored by Jake Gyllenhaal's performance. Rachel McAdams is always amazing as well. I have 2 questions. 1, how on earth does Southpaw have a Rotten Tomatoes score of 58%? It makes me question checking Rotten Tomatoes scores. My second question is Jake Gyllenhaal becoming the greatest actor of his generation?"
2-part question. First, how does Rotten Tomatoes have it at 58? Because it's not that good of a movie. Now, there's going to be differences of opinion on this table. I went in. Look, Antoine Fuqua is one of my favorite directors. I really look forward to watching, especially after I appreciate The Equalizer more than most people do. I acknowledge that, but I loved what he did with The Equalizer. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I was going into that film with really high expectations. And honestly, I thought the film was a bit of a mess. I couldn't get emotionally attached. It's hard to get emotionally attached to a character who's basically unlikable. You're right, though. The performance of Gyllenhaal in it. This is a great example, I think, of great performances can be in subpar movies. I thought the pacing of the film was terrible. There are things that should have taken 5 minutes of screen time that they dragged out in 20 minutes. There are some things that deserve 20 minutes of screen time that they just passed off in a quick passing shot. Wow. It felt disjointed, and it didn't really know what it was trying to do. Then they introduced this kid who's supposed to be like a subplot sort of thing. kid has one line. I'm supposed to feel emotionally invested in the kid, and then something happens to the kid, and I'm supposed to care. I just don't care as the audience member, you know. But it finished strong. I'll say this for Southpaw: it finished strong. Not just the last 2 minutes either. Like the last 30 minutes of the film are strong, and it kind of made me wish. It kind of highlighted to me how I thought poor the first 2 acts of the film were, when the last act was actually pretty damn strong. So and I think 58% is probably right around where it should be. I think there's going to be a number of people who like the film, and there are people at this table who really like the film, and I think there will be a number of people who don't, and I think that 58% is probably where it ends up being. As far as Jake Gyllenhaal goes, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are now talking 2 world-class performances in a row. And despite my misgivings about the film as itself, you're right, Jake Gyllenhaal was terrific in Southpaw. And then you go back to Nightcrawler and look what he did there. And then you think back, well, let's go even further back than that. Let's look at things like Brokeback Mountain and the performance he had there. And could he be the best actor of his generation? I wouldn't say that right now, but he's on his way. I mean, he is phenomenal. Like, forget Prince of Persia. If at this point, any movie that's coming out that's got Jake Gyllenhaal now in the marquee, I'm now instantly interested, because I know even if I don't like the movie, I'm going to be enthralled watching this dude's performance. So that bodes very well for me. And Kristian, you were somebody who actually really did like Southpaw. Why do you think some people aren't liking, like myself, don't like it as much? And how do you see, where does Jake Gyllenhaal rank right now?
Well, yeah, I did. I love the movie. Let me ask you a question. If, out of a 5 score, what would you rank? What would you give it out of 5?
I would give it a 2.5.
Okay, so that is for people out there who don't know. So that would be a rotten score for John and Rotten Tomatoes. So the way that Rotten Tomatoes works is once you hit that 3 spot, that's when it gets a fresh review. So that means that the majority of the people who didn't like it were under 3. I don't agree with that. I think it at least, opinions are opinions, but I think that it should at least get over a 3, because I thought it is a cliched movie for sure. It is a movie that we've seen the same beats, and I agree that one subplot with the kid, it wasn't developed at all, and just kind of throws out there, and it's just like, don't you care now? And you're like, well, I don't know enough to care about him. But it was the performance of Gyllenhaal and the way that they did handle this story, and I thought the chemistry with him and McAdams was amazing. I was emotionally invested in the relationship with him and the little girl. I was emotionally invested in this guy's journey, because I think you're not supposed to like him, but you're also supposed to realize the struggle of what this guy went through, is going through, and who he was and where he came from. I thought they did a good job of setting up his background as like an orphan and what he had to overcome in order to get there, because it was paralleled off of Eminem's life as well too, and I knew that going into it. But I understand people's gripes with the fact that it's just something we haven't seen. The reason, as far as why do I think a lot of critics didn't enjoy it, I think it's because everyone's holding Gyllenhaal to this standard right now. He just did Nightcrawler, right. End of Watch, Enemy.
Oh, End of Watch.
Enemy is another one. Those are all performances that you went, whoa. And those are all so different of movies, and movies that weren't cliched. So when you see him in a movie, like, it takes you back to the Prince of Persia's, because it's just like, oh, Gyllenhaal's doing this kind of movie. And after doing something like Nightcrawler, it's like waiting for his next big thing. And then he does a movie that's just kind of riddled with these. You're like, oh, it maybe lowers your value of the film. And I didn't, because, like I said, I'm a boxing fan. I was invested in the character, so that's why I enjoyed it so much. As far as Gyllenhaal, I think that he's absolutely on his way of being one of the best, because he is a chameleon. I did not see Jake Gyllenhaal in this role. I saw Billy Hope. I saw Lou in Nightcrawler. That is a hard thing to accomplish when you're as famous as he is. Right. There are only a few other people that can do that, and he is one of those guys that every time you watch him, This is the guy that was in Bubble Boy. Remember Bubble Boy, and right. he's one of those guys that knows how to pick the role. So that's my opinion on it, and I'm sticking to it.
Schnepp, where do you think Gyllenhaal is right now?
I think Gyllenhaal is one of our greatest actors at the moment. I have zero interest in seeing Southpaw, and I'll say why. That last trailer that came out, ruined the entire movie for me. And I remember being on the show and saying, I can't believe they just told the entire movie beat by beat in 2.5 minutes. Did I really need to know everything about this film in the trailer? And I lost all interest in the film. And I read a couple of reviews saying that trailer, note for note, ruined the entire movie. It is that movie only condensed. So you're saying you have pacing problems, just watch the trailer again, and you might actually enjoy the film as a 2.5 minute nugget. Because I was like, I have zero interest in seeing it. All these actors who are in the film I think they're great actors, but I don't have any interest in seeing the film now. So, I mean, that to me is like, and that it's getting really bad reviews makes me.
I don't think it's getting really bad reviews, though. I mean, even 60% is not.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I have like so many other films that are on top of that
Right.
that I have to see that I missed even from 2 weeks ago, that a new film like this, it doesn't warrant me wanting to see it in the theater.
Right.
I will say this too. I haven't seen Forrest Whitaker this good in a while.
Right.
Forrest Whitaker is also quite strong.
That's where the movie really picked up for me, is when he entered. I liked their relationship, and that's why I thought that Jake Gyllenhaal's character actually became more likable. But
Well, it's because of that character.
Because of that character. What I will say though, Schnepp, because I had that concern about the trailer going in, and I did think for the first 20 minutes, I'm like, I had literally seen everything so far in this movie. But then I thought it did something different, and without spoiling anything from the movie, of the development of a certain storyline that wasn't really shown in the trailer. And I thought that the movie for the last like hour and a half wasn't spoiled by the trailer, but that's me.
Right on.
All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget there are lots of great films playing over at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. Don't forget to subscribe to our Collider Video YouTube channel. Stop what you're doing right now. Click the subscribe button. Subscribe to this channel and stay up to date on all the great videos coming out here on Collider Video. Not just movie talk every day, Monday through Friday, but like, for instance, later today, we got Collider Heroes coming up that Jon Schnepp is going to be hosting. On Thursday, we got Collider Jedi Council. We got Mailbag. We got a ton of stuff going on here. Make sure you subscribe. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. Later today, like John mentioned, we're doing another episode of Heroes. Check it out. We got Tiffany back on the show. We're going to be getting sweaty. So write your hashtag Collider Heroes if you have any questions. We're filled up this week, but write in right now and watch the show later. Once again, you can always find my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, by going to www.tdoslwh.com. You can buy a copy, a digital copy, or a Blu-ray. Thanks.
Of course, sitting over here, the host of Jedi Council, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you?
You can find me on Jedi Council every Thursday. Make sure that you hashtag Collider Jedi Council. Get your questions in the air. I believe we have Tiffany on Jedi Council.
Tiffany Smith is going to be on Heroes and Jedi Council.
She's all
this week.
over Collider this week.
So make sure, by the way, that you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. We'll be posting pictures from that and tweets, and I always try to answer as many Star Wars questions as possible.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
On Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And for those of you who didn't know, later this week, I'm always super excited whenever I get to say, we're getting together with Academy Award winner writer Diablo Cody, who wrote and produced the new Ricky and the Flash movie that's coming out. She's going to be in studio this week joining us, so make sure you keep your eyes open for that. You can find me on all the various social media networks just at Jon Campea. So that'll do it for us, guys, for Collider Video. Until next time, bye-bye.